Sorry, I'm eating cucumbers.
I'm very nervous that the dog is burning in hell right now for his past sins.
What?
Oh God!
Why'd you have to do that?
I want that as a fucking ringtone.
Women are registering to vote in Pennsylvania in numbers far exceeding men since the Supreme Court abortion decision. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a trend we're seeing in other places as well. Yeah, it's pretty cool that it's happening in Pennsylvania to start with. Of the women who have registered since the decision, there are 4 Democrats for every Republican. Oh, boy. Oh, you are? Well, there you go. Repping your home state there, girl. Nice. Nice-sized march. Abortion rights advocates protest outside the federal courthouse in Philadelphia on June 24th after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The voter registration envelope had been sitting in Kiera Cole's bedroom for months when her cell phone started blowing up that Friday in June. Had she seen the news about the Supreme Court? Cole, an 18-year-old from Willow Grove, had been interested in voting, but just hadn't gotten around to it, busy preparing to leave for college, babysitting for a local family, and making trips to the Jersey Shore. After hearing abortion could become illegal in some states, she dug the form out, registered as a Democrat, and sent it in. Not just me, but all my friends. We immediately registered to vote. Coyle? Is it Coyle or Cole? I'm going to say Coyle. Said, if we have the voice to vote, we wanted it. We were really enraged. We were like, how are we going backward? Yeah, that was definitely the feelings in our house on that day. Thousands of women across Pennsylvania and the country have registered to vote since the June 24th Dobbs v. Jackson decision that overturned the federal right to an abortion in the United States. Pennsylvania has had one of the nation's biggest gender gaps in new registrations. According to Democratic voter data firm TargetSmart, which said women have outpaced men by 12 percentage points in new registrations since June 24th. That gap is 3 times larger than their estimate of a 4-point difference in total registrations. Gender is an optional field when registering to vote in Pennsylvania, so the state's voter polls don't provide a complete picture of the gender split in registrations. Newly registered voters say they were motivated by the decision, and Democratic activists said they were working to capitalize on that anger with voter registration drives and more women-focused organizing events. Similar voter enthusiasm and political organization has followed onto major events, including the racial justice protests in 2020 and the 2018 mass shooting at Parkland High School in Florida. In Pennsylvania, 62% of women registering since Dobbs registered as Democrats, 15% as Republicans, 54% were younger than 25. So, and I don't know. Democrat or Republican, I gotta say, like, younger people are usually a little bit more personal freedom based, and they're more like fiscally and financially conservative. So I mean, I feel like this is just great to have more women registering to vote in light of women's health being the topic of discussion, and B, for more younger people getting out there and voting as well, because you can only really grow if you have fresh ideas coming in, and fresh ideas come from young people. So yep, I was born in Easton. Mom moved us down here when I was 2 because we lived in the projects. It was a difficult day in our house because I've already had 1 miscarriage and we're afraid of having another. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's a difficult. It was it was just a heavy kind of day. If you're pro-choice, it was a very heavy day for you. Of the women who registered to vote in Pennsylvania after Dobbs, there are 4 Democrats for every Republican. Nearly 2/3 of women who registered to vote in Pennsylvania after June 24th Dobbs' decision are registered Democrats. New male voters were also more likely to be Democrats than Republicans, but to a lesser degree. Now, I'm fine with that, but typically I like Democrat politicians until they're actually in office, and then they don't do anything that they say. So, that's usually the little gripe that I have with these kinds of things. But this is definitely a cool trend that I'm liking seeing. I hope we get to see more of it as time goes on. Hey there, beautiful. She's out there working real hard. And I'm so damn proud of her because of all the hard work that she does. It's just, it's truly an honor. Cried Deadpool. You're ridiculous. Get out of here. Don't get out of here. I love you. Stay as long as you can. Could you share the stream if you don't mind, Denki, if you got the time and the means to? Denki Nasu in the chat. Oh, Lordy Lou. Now it's a party. Got all kinds of good friends and peoples in here. Don't forget to share the stream, you guys. I know everybody in here right now is a follower, but, absolutely share the stream. Mayor, that's my cousin. That's my cousin right there. And D, Wallflower95 is actually a good friend of Denki Nasu. So, yeah. Everybody go check out Denki's channel, by the way. You can get there by clicking on her name there in the chat. Or, let me put in, let me get her YouTube channel in the chat because she's been posting a lot of her game streams there. And some of the most recent ones have been really cool. Boom. So go check out Denki Nasu on YouTube as well if you haven't already done that. Anyway, I'm going to go back to this. Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, dude. Just so you know, just so everybody knows what we're talking about, this is a news article about how women in Pennsylvania are just going out in droves and registering to vote. Give me a sec, I'll share too. Thank you. I love your stuff. Dana Brown, executive director at the Center for Women in Politics, said there's been a clear shift in motivation among Democrats since the ruling, and women are a main driver. Many people have been mobilizing since the decision to register voters, particularly in the younger demographic, because that's where you have the opportunity for growth, Brown said. Yeah, just like I mentioned, you want fresh ideas, you got to get young blood up in there. Registration and enthusiasm. The surge in female voter registrations comes amid a flurry of registration activity as voters prepare for a major midterm election. Voter registration patterns generally match broader voter enthusiasm in elections, with registration spiking in major elections and staying very low in low turnout election cycles. That's very true, too. Most people care about, Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the hosting. Yeah, most people care about, unless there's a reason to give a shit about the midterm elections, most people don't, which you should. The midterm elections are definitely the elections that affect you individually way more often. And it's really a good way to get real systemic change going in the works because it's the opportunity to change the people in Congress and the Senate fundamentally. It changes the system from the foundation of it. But yeah, and plus governors are also a good thing to vote for, and everything like that. So but it is important for you to keep in mind if your state's elections are closed elections or not, because you don't want to be stuck as a registered independent who's not able to vote I understand wanting the choice between the two, but if you are a registered independent in a closed election state, you're able to vote for like judges and the like county officials and things like that. Oh, the two-party system is definitely a bad joke. I don't like the fact that it's like, it's like the aliens in The Simpsons when they come down to invade, and they're like, wait, we don't have to invade. We can just infiltrate their political system, and one of them becomes a Democrat and one of them becomes a Republican, and they're just kind of like, ha, you will have to vote for one of us. Your two-party system is flawed. And eventually we just vote one of the aliens in. I was a registered independent who switched to Dems. Yeah, I definitely I knew that mostly what I was going to be voting for was Democrat. And that's not to say I agree with 100% of the things that Democratic politicians do, but it's reptilians for the win. But it has to do with those typically are the policies that I want to vote for. Usually the side of liberal. The liberal side of an argument is usually the side that I want to be on, because it's about affording the most personal freedoms to as many people as possible. So that's just the side I signed up with, because it's easy to, because I prefer choices, but broken system. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough call to make, because you feel like you're being cornered, or you're being painted into this kind of corner. And you want to be able to make other choices, but you're forced into that system, into that what's the word? Like I get just into that box, I'd vote for a bearded dragon. Yeah, I'd vote for a bearded dragon. Hail our scaly masters! That's how they cheer. They hiss. Voter registration patterns generally match broader voter enthusiasm in elections, with registration spiking in major elections and staying very low to low turnout elections cycles. This year, state data showed more than 63,200 new registrations have been processed online. The primary registration method, as of mid-August, by this time in 2020, there had been nearly 250,000 new online registrations, and last year only 25,000. As registrations continue to pick up heading into the November midterms, the tens of thousands of new voters will make up a small percentage of the state's nearly 8.8 million registered voters. And registration numbers alone can be misleading, with Democrats in Pennsylvania historically holding a significant margin over Republicans in voter registrations. But when it comes time to vote, the state is much more evenly split. But an increase in new registrations can signal broader enthusiasm for voting among the already registered electorate. So yeah, it's like I said, if Pennsylvania has open elections, then it doesn't necessarily matter. But it's like I said, if the election is an open election, then it doesn't necessarily matter what party. What party it is, it's, you're able to vote for the candidate that you find appropriate regardless of their party. Significant margarine. Of course, registering to vote is one thing. Actually going out to do it is another. Brown noted. Yeah, that's a good point too. We have a historically low show up rate or turnout rate for voting in this country. But as the recent data shows, registrations grew at particularly high rates in some states where abortion rights are most at risk. That could signal people are being motivated by an issue that they want to weigh in on through voting. In Pennsylvania, abortion is legal, but several bills that would severely restrict it have passed the state legislature only to be vetoed by Governor Tom Wolf, whose term ends in January. Okay, night, dude. Nighty-night. The Democratic candidate for governor, Josh Shapiro, has vowed to continue to veto abortion bans. His Republican opponent, State Senator Doug Mastriano, has said he believes all abortion should be illegal with no exceptions. Who becomes governor in November could very well determine whether abortion is legal in Pennsylvania, and the state legislature, long controlled by Republicans, could also be up for grabs. A lot of people they heard abortion was punted to the state, and then people run and go look at their state, and they're like, "Oh, I'm in one of the bad ones," said Jamie Parapato, executive director of the Democratic group Turn PA Blue. Pennsylvania's U.S. Senate race could also be key. The winner could determine which party controls the chamber and whether abortion is codified or restricted at the federal level. Turn PA Blue has seen an influx in women interested in registering to vote, and they've upped their registration efforts and voter outreach. They also hold Women to Women Wednesdays, in which volunteers have phone and online conversation with women around the state. This is motivating women. This is finally the straw where people don't want to believe horrible things are happening, but you can't deny it anymore, Parapato said. We can lose abortion as of the ballot in November. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how there are some states that are just going to outright do away with it. And but I feel like that was already kind of how things were sort of working. I mean, that's not how it should work, and there should just be like federal protections for these things, but you know, it's where we're at right now, and hopefully eventually enough people vote for the right candidates and we can finally have it codified in the law. That's one of those things that I'm talking about when I say I don't necessarily appreciate the actions of Democratic politicians as much as I do the policies that they claim to represent, because you know, they've had multiple supermajorities since Roe v. Wade was in effect, and they chose to do nothing with it because it's an issue. It's one of the issues that they like to volley back and forth with the Republicans. It's the same thing with gun control rights. You know, a lot of people on the Republican side, especially people who are just specifically about like commentary, they like to claim that like the Democrats are coming to ban all guns, but there's not really any evidence of the ban all guns thing, like as far as people outright just saying it and believing in it. So it's hard to take that seriously when you see that, you know, Democrats aren't really doing a whole lot in the way of like gun control. They are on a state level, which you think Republicans would kind of like respect a little bit more because that's just part of their shtick is like states' rights and shit. So I don't know. It's just another one like this. The abortion thing is just another issue that they're going to bounce back and forth to get people to come out and vote for them. And clearly it's working because now it's got more people. Now the Democrats have more people registering to vote there. But, you know, it's hard to even say if that's going to matter because, like the article said, you know, registering to vote and going out to vote are two completely different things. A good example of that is of something that ends up happening a lot in this country is the way the media reports on certain stuff, on certain things, can mislead people. Like it can be very deceptive, the amount of support that a certain issue has. And so people don't go out to support it because they think it already has sufficient support. That's in my opinion anyway. That is a big part of why Hillary lost in 2016 was because the news made it sound like she just had it in the bag no matter what anybody did. So, you know, rest assured, Dems, you can stay at home because she's got it, you know? The next president, whoever she may be, like, you know, everybody was so sure about it, and the news reported it as such. And it was just kind of like, it just felt kind of like it was some bullshit.